Once upon a time, an old Japanese legend goes as told by Papa. An old woman traveled through many small villages, seeking refuge for the night. Each door opened a sliver in answer to her knock.
Do you have a place to stay?
Then closed. Unable to walk any further, she wearily climbed a hill, found a clearing, and there lay down to rest a few moments to catch her breath. The village town below lay asleep except for a few star-like lights. Suddenly, the clouds opened and the full moon came into view over the town. The old woman sat up, turned toward the village town, and in supplication called out, "Thank you, people of the village. If it had not been for your kindness in refusing me a bed for the night, these humble eyes would never have seen this memorable sight." Papa paused. I waited. In the comfort of our hilltop home in Seattle overlooking the valley, I shouted, "That's the end?"
I think the reason that A Bedtime Story is one of my favorite poems is because of the way that the author wrote it. We're given no information about the backgrounds of either the daughter or the father. And I think it's really special that the author was able to just tell a story in the form of a father telling his daughter a story, and that we could be so relatable to it and really understand what's going on in the story. But beyond that, I think another reason it really strikes me as special is because of the old lady's reaction to the people of the village. It's quite ironic that she reacts how she does. She talks about her humble eyes and their kindness to her. And despite her constant rejection after rejection, she still found beauty in nature and still was thankful for what she had and thankful that she was able to experience the nighttime stars like she did. And I think that really just goes to show that it's all about perspective, and I think that's a really good life lesson for me, especially just because it shows that you can make the best of a situation, and no matter how desperate you are to find some place to stay or whatever the situation may be, there's always going to be a light at the end of the tunnel, and there's always going to be something that you can turn into a positive situation. So I think that is why that story really hits me and why this poem is so special to me. And I just really appreciate the author's ability to convey that through this Japanese folktale. Even though in the actual poem, the old lady is actually an old lady and not a little girl, I chose to portray the old lady as a little girl. In fact, the same little girl that was listening to the story from her father. The reason I chose to do this is because I think the little girl was really invested in what her father was telling her and really was interested in the story that she was hearing. I think that she was able to put herself in the old lady's shoes and really feel what she felt and experience what she experienced. At the end of the poem, and her last words are even, "That's the end." So she acted really surprised, and I think that she really wanted to hear what was going to happen to the old lady next. And so by putting her in her shoes literally and having the little girl portray the old lady, I think that my main goal was to just show that the little girl really does have an interest and is very intrigued by what the old lady is experiencing. Another thing that I find really interesting is the fact that the author chose not to use any figurative language or any literary devices. I think he only used one simile throughout the entire poem. So I think that just goes to show that not all poetry has to be extremely rich in figurative language or literary devices or anything like that. And it was a very simple story, and I think that's a lot of what makes it such a powerful one, and I think that's why it resonates so much with me.